Yep, can you guys hear me? Ah, there we go. There you go. There we go. Look, I was sitting here having a good time having a conversation with myself. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Correct Opinion. You know what this is. This is our little home. We give you the chaotic breakdown, savage hot takes, and a few tech support issues and nerd therapy. Tonight, I'm going to be diving into a few things you guys already know. I'm going to get into The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 5. I'm going to get into Final Destination Bloodlines. I'm going to get into Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, and maybe breaking down some additional news from the internet if we have time. I'm thinking about talking about Diddy. Because, yo. But first, I'm going to give a shout out to our TMB member, Markeisha. Markeisha, thank you for coming through. I want to give a shout out first and foremost to our members. Feel free to check it out. We do have memberships now. It starts at just $1.99, and you get access to all these own custom emojis. Some of them of my head. You get access to your own custom emojis of my head. So feel free to make sure that you explore the emojis, Markeisha. You get extra access to that. Drop them into the chat. I have one that's actually a from talisman, or we have a from talisman emoji exclusive to the members. Go ahead and check that out. Who else we got up in here? We got Michael Lamont calling me out. Yeah, thank you for letting me know. Nobody else told me. I should have known. I really should have known. Who else we got up in here? We got Satemo McGee. Satemo, thank you for coming through. Appreciate you. Satemo, have I seen you around here before? Do me a favor. If I haven't, do me a favor. Let me know where you're checking in from, because I may not be able to hear your voice, but if you let me know where you're from, maybe it's a place that I visited, maybe it's a place that I know. We can always connect in that way if we have that recognition of where each other is at. But yeah, thank you for coming through, Satemo. That music with I keep it pimping. Nah, I'm gonna switch it up though. So every once in a while, I bring this intro up for the right case, but I'm gonna switch it up sometimes. I got some more hits and music to drop on y'all. Markeisha, appreciate you. I see you dropping your smileys in the chat. There you go. Appreciate it. Again, tonight we're going to be diving into The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 5, because, wow, this episode was so good. I got to talk about the other thing I had fun with this week, Final Destination Bloodlines, and your boy got to see Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. And I'm going to be breaking it all down for you. Plus, if time permits, I'll talk about Diddy, because Diddy is, there's so much going on. But do me a favor, smash that like button early if you love movies, TV, and reckless opinions. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and drop in the chat where you're watching from, because I see y'all coming in from everywhere lately. All right, so let's get it. Let me go ahead and start off with our Last of Us. What happened here? No. There we go. Much better. I think you all can see the screen. I think we can all see everything. I want to go into this episode. If you're just now checking in, Satama, where you checking in from? Detroit. Oh, I ain't never been to Detroit. I ain't never been to Detroit. I've been to Chicago, but everybody in Chicago told me don't go to Detroit. Don't go there. But let me know what's going on in your hood. What's going on in Detroit? Is it like everybody says it is on TV? Because I don't want to just trust TV. I want to trust what people who actually live there tell me. What is it like, and what is Detroit's dish? Because I'm already going back and forth with these Chicago people about pizza and who got the best one. I don't know if Detroit can enter the chat, but let me know, what is Detroit's dish and what y'all be getting down to down there. Let's see what else we got up in here. Let's get into it. So if you're just now checking in, what's up? Thank you for checking us out. Welcome back to the post-apocalyptic therapy session that we call The Last of Us. Today, I'm going to be diving into Season 2, Episode 5, and trust me, this one is filthy, fungal, and it's full of emotional trauma. Spoiler warning. If you're not caught up And if you're still here, you already know what it is. All right. Spoiler warning. So let's get into it. Now this week's episode kicks off at the hospital, right? At the hospital. Hanrahan's out here. She's just nodding and silent, like she's auditioning for mime school. No words, just vibes. We see that the entrance to the basement is barricaded shut. It turns out that Hanrahan got a lot going on in this place. So Hanrahan, if you guys don't remember, she is one of the leaders of the WLF, and she, as one of the main leaders alongside with Isaac, has her lieutenants. Now, one of her WLF lieutenants, I think her name was Park, right? I think that's what it says on her shirt. I'm hoping that's her name. I don't know, but I'm going to call her Park for now. She gives a really, really terrifying recount of how she lost members of her team while on patrol. And I gotta tell you, this scene is dense. This scene is really dense, right? Because the explanation is slow, it's painful, and it's going over how the threat in the apocalypse is increasing. It's not bad enough that the infected walk around the way that we see them. It's not bad enough that some of them are evolving and are stalking the survivors. But we learned that this shit is really hitting the fan because now the infection is airborne. That story alone really kicks butt. But what really made me appreciate this moment and what made me really appreciate this scene on my rewatch was the realization that Park's son, Leon, was among those who got murked while she tried to contain the spores in the basement. Like, wow. This scene really slapped the first time. But I'm telling you, on a second watch, you really see the pain and appreciate the moment, right? Like, you really appreciate the way this scene plays out after learning that she's talking about her son here. But yeah, spores are officially in the show now. They're in the show. Welcome back to that nasty pandemic era. Y'all remember the taste of that, right? The nasty pandemic era. We've been there. We remember what that was like. So here's the quick download, right? Just to repeat those who didn't understand it the first time, because I actually spoke to folks and they were like, they didn't really understand everything that had happened in that scene. Leon's squad stumbled into B2 of the hospital. They found the fungus had evolved and they got infected just by breathing. Park had to seal them in to save everybody else. Now, what's being discussed online is that this is the total opposite of Joel saving Ellie and dooming mankind. Park here could sacrifice her son for the greater good, but Joel didn't have it in him to do the same to save humanity. Think about that. So back at the Pinnacle Theater, Ellie and Dina are triangulating radio signals. Yeah, Fernando, it is crazy that it's airborne now. This is something from the show that I think a lot of us were waiting for them to bring into, fans of the game were waiting and wondering if they were going to bring into the show, because technically it should have been something around in season 1. However, the creators, if you ever listen to the making of the episode afterward, or if you listen to the official podcast, they explain that they didn't really think it would be a good fit to put it in season 1 at the time, but they're happy that they were able to get it in season 2. But we're going to see later in the show how that impacts the storytelling changes. We already saw last episode that Dina learned about Ellie's immunity differently in the show than she did in the game. In the game, Dina learns about Ellie's immunity because they were walking through a spore-infected building, probably this hospital, something like that, and Ellie's was wearing a mask to kind of filter out the spores, and her mask got damaged, and she got exposed to the spores, and she had to explain to Dina her immunity that way. Now, last episode, we saw Dina learn of Ellie's immunity by taking a bite on her arm in order to protect Dina from an attack from the infected. So we're going to see how this plays out differently further along and how that's going to impact the differences in the show. The good thing to me is that both ways are good. Both ways are really fucking good because this makes it seem a little bit more personal and more important to get attached to these two, as Ellie had to make a sacrifice. As in the game, you get to spend way more time with the characters. It's like a 30-40 hour game, maybe the first time through. You get a lot more intimate relationship as opposed to this show. We do it for like 45 minutes to an hour a week. Anyway, so like I said, back at the Pinnacle Theater, Ellie and Dina are triangulating, something with triangles, the radio signals that they're hearing over the walkie-talkies. And, quick, shout out to Dina for being the actual brain of the operation, right? Ellie is out here just plain wandering like a non-school oriented tourist. But after Ellie realizes that triangulating stuff isn't her forte, she finds a guitar. Right? She goes in further into the theater. She finds a guitar. And then she starts playing Future Days by Pearl Jam, which is a massive callback to the games. And I think it was Joel's gift to us all. This was the theme song of the game. Ellie is only able to get out a few words. Yeah, this song is really important to people who played the game looking at the adaptation. And what was interesting is that even though Pearl Jam, British accent, Pearl Jam would not technically exist in the show's 2003 Outbreak timeline, it just didn't exist yet. Neil Druckmann said, "Shut up, we're going to use it anyway." He just loves that song. So yeah, shout out to Pearl Jam, shout out to Neil Druckmann for taking this song into exception and bringing it in. What are you saying? Michael Lamont says, "I don't agree with opposite talk with Joel and Park. Joel couldn't let a person he loved die no matter the cost. Park's son was already infected, already dead. Park didn't kill her son." True, but I think what they're saying is that the paternal instincts didn't overrule her decision making. Because even though it would be illogical to try and save her son, the paternal instincts might override that. Paternal instincts will make people do stupid stuff, right? Like, I think there was that guy whose baby fell into like an alligator river in Disney World, and there's a bunch of alligators, like tons of them, and the guy just dove in after his baby, right? Like, I know this is not likely a good outcome, but your paternal instincts sometimes just kick in and you just do things that may seem illogical. So I think that the biggest thing is that Park was able to stay in control, whereas Joel's paternal instincts kind of overruled what he was willing to do. Even though Ellie kind of implied she would die to get a cure. So there's that. I think that's what the argument is about. Anyway, let's see. Dina, yeah. Neil Druckmann was like, "Yeah, we're gonna put Pearl Jam in here." I just found this shot at Neil Druckmann. I thought it was pretty cool, just him showing his appreciation for the band. I thought that was a really cool inclusion, and I love that. As masterful as he is with keeping things historically accurate, he's willing to make exceptions. Anyway, Dina and Ellie hit the streets. They stumble into a Seraphite mural, and it's giving big creepy energy. Now, Feel Her Love. This is graffiti that's a direct pull from the games. You're going to see this repeated. I think we saw it in the television station. They wrote it on the wall in blood. Feel Her Love. This is a nice little Easter egg. And then those WLF guys left their counter reply. Meanwhile, piles of murked bodies remind us that the wolves and the Seraphites really kind of hate each other. Like it's New York versus Boston. And now I know it's supposed to be a Knicks hat, but I New York, whatever. Now here's one of the realest moments of the episode. One of the realest moments of the episode. On their way through this horror show known as Seattle, Dina drops her backstory. She shares how her story went maybe a little predictably for Ellie. When she was 8 years old, she snuck out to play against her mother's wishes. While she was gone, a raider attacked, murked her mom and her sister. And when she came up, she picked up the family's only pew-pew and murked the guy herself. 8 years old. 10 Toes Dina tells Ellie flat out, if someone made me watch that happen, would it make a difference if my family had hurt his people first? No. And had he gotten away, I promise you, I would have hunted him down forever. And I feel this. I feel this 100%. No, I feel this 1000%. For those of you who have been rocking with me for a while, you already know, look, I lost a parent. I'm telling you right now, I feel her 1000%, right? Because I think people need to understand the rage that people are keeping at bay when they lose a parent. It's not easy. We see it in the news, right? People spaz out in the courtroom when they see their family's murderer alive, walking around while their loved ones are gone. I get it. She even says, I don't care if we started it. I'd murk them too. 10 Toes Dina never folds, yo. 10 Toes Dina never folds. This speech punches you right in the chest. But it also perfectly frames the show's biggest question. Who's really the villain when everyone's got blood on their hands? Anyway, Dina had spotted a gap in wolf patrols, so, naturally, they came up with what we, the audience, know was the dumbest plan ever, right? Hey, let's sneak into the abandoned, haunted factory. Like on some Scooby-Doo tip. Let's just sneak in to the abandoned, haunted factory. Because what's the worst that can happen? Answer. Everything. Everything. Turns out the place is crawling with those stalkers, right? Those smart infected. They hide. They hunt in packs. They make creepy baby sounds to lure you in. The horror vibes are immaculate. The horror vibes are on point when these stalkers come up on the scene because these are trained survivors. Ellie doesn't know any other world. She only knows the world that she's in. She is a trained survivor. And Ellie and Dina, they honestly, when they see one of them, they think they can handle it. 2 seconds later, Ellie and Dina are about 2 seconds from getting absolutely torn to shreds. Absolutely torn to shreds until mother flood pucking Jesse pops up with the save. Straight from Jackson and ready to be the disappointed dad that these ladies probably kind of need right now. How? We don't know yet. But we still sure are as glad as hell that Ellie didn't get eaten. Now, this scene right here reeks of unspoken awkwardness. Jesse and Ellie were already kind of weird around each other, right? The energy around them was just a little weird. But now that Ellie is effing Jesse's baby mama and he don't know it yet? Yo, this is Jerry Springer levels of ratchet. If they bring out a paternity test at the theater, I'm shutting the TV off. At this point, all they're missing is a folding chair and somebody yelling, "You are not the father." Anyway, Jesse explains that he and Tommy snuck out to come find them. So good news, reinforcements. Bad news, they are now surrounded by psycho zealots with crossbows. So the trio tried to make it back to the theater, but what had happened was the Seraphites, the Mother Flood pucking Seraphites, the Scars, them, they're making their whistle sound extra creepy. I mean, these Seraphites are out here whistling like Hunger Games rejects, and you already know if they catch you, it's over. Ain't no retries, ain't no checkpoints, it's over. They string a WLF dude up, and they gut him in a full-on purification ritual. It's given Midsummer, but make it worse. Then Dina catches an arrow to the leg. Pregnant and now arrowed. This is a rough night for Tentos. Ellie pulls hero duty and distracts the Seraphites while Jesse carries Dina to safety. And side note, can HBO please stop filming these nighttime scenes with like a potato taped to a flashlight? Because HBO's got this thing where these night scenes be so dark. I thought my TV broke. I'm squinting so hard. I saw the ancestors. Ellie heads to the WLF hospital base solo. She's on her Metal Gear Solid right now. She's just infiltrating, right? This is what she's doing. And it's wild because Ellie leaves. Ellie leaves her pregnant, arrowed girlfriend behind just to stay locked in on revenge. That's next level petty or next level focused, maybe both. Anyway, Ellie sneaks past a guard dog, good boy Rex, and she actually does track down Nora. Now, I love this because in the game, again, Ellie faces Nora in the hospital with incredible, similar detail. The show just really does us all a favor and decides to move a little bit faster and double down with this scene. Now, Nora tries playing nice at first, right? She actually tries playing nice at first. Like she really roped Ellie in. Oh, no. I still hear Joel screaming at night. Then she flips it, mocks Joel's death, throws bleach in Ellie's face and runs. Like, bro, yo, when she said that, I almost threw my remote through the TV. Who says that to someone holding a pew-pew at them? At that point, like, nah. At this point, after everything we've been through, we don't even need a conversation. We need a pipe and a prayer. Get this chick. And this chase scene is pretty cool. And it plays off for a pretty long time in the game, which I'm glad they speed up in the show. Ellie chases Nora down to B2, right? B2. Now, this might sound familiar if you've been paying attention to what we were talking about earlier. B2 is the spore-infested death basement. We even run into Park. I'm sorry, we run into Park's son, Leon, from earlier in the episode. Look. And I love the incredible detail in this scene. Just thinking about all of what we see on the walls and the vents, the colors. I love the accuracy, the exact tone, how they're able to translate these colors from the game on the screen. I love it. It just feels so good to me. But then we find Nora. And here's the sick part, right? Here we are, full circle. Remember that pandemic era I told you about? Ellie's walking through it like it's Febreze. Nora's already dying just by breathing. And then Nora realizes that Ellie's the immune girl. And then Nora drops the bomb. Joel murked Abby's dad. You know, the surgeon at St. Mary's. And Ellie says she knew and she doesn't care. But the show kind of leaves it open for us to wonder, like, did she really know? That weird look on her face says maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe. You know what I mean? And then Ellie picks up a pipe. And she starts working on getting these answers. No hesitation. Cold. They cut away before we hear the results, but based on the sounds, it ain't looking good for Nora. And if you like this scene and you want to rep your show, check out my Teespring store that I have linked in the description, where you can get one of my Where's Abby t-shirts that are inspired by this scene. And if you do me a favor and grab a shirt, tag me. Tag me. I definitely want to see you rocking it while looking just as pissed as Ellie. Anyway, moving on. Right after Ellie's brutal act, we cut to a flashback. Joel waking up Ellie and Jackson. Back when life still had a little hope left. Now, you already know next week's episode is probably going to destroy us if we're getting a flashback. There's probably some bittersweet memories incoming. So bring tissues, maybe a therapist, maybe both. But I honestly thought that this episode was a brutal masterpiece. We got Spores, Stalkers, Seraphites, and soul-crushing choices. Now, if revenge was bad in the games, this show is making damn sure you feel it. And Ellie, she's on the road to somewhere dark. And the gas pedal's stuck. So do me a favor. If you're checking out on the replay and you're new here, if you enjoyed this breakdown, smash that like button harder than Ellie smashed Nora's legs. Hit subscribe. Drop a comment. Would you have saved Dina, or would you have gone full John Wick mode like Ellie? Anyway, if you're watching the replay, stay tuned. Next week, Joel's got some stuff coming. I don't want to spoil it for nobody, but I'll catch y'all then. Oh, and remember, never go to Seattle. Ever. Let me see what you all were saying about this episode in the comments. I think some of y'all had some reactions to this one too. I think you're right. Scooby-Doo wrote this episode. Yeah, there was some naivety and some overconfidence from Ellie and Dina in this episode that just seemed a little like it's not like they're new, but however, they are coming across new threats. But Ellie should have known that one smart one probably wasn't a one-off, but she's learning the hard way. She's finding out. So I'm with you. It does have some things that just was like, why'd y'all do that? What else we got? Markeisha says this episode was top tier. Ellie came for revenge, and that is what she is going to get. I love it. I'm feeling all this energy. And like I said, I get it. 1,000%. I get it. I don't care if I started this beef. I don't care. This is how I feel now. And you got to deal with my feelings. I can't believe Ellie gave Jesse attitude after saving her life like she's terrible, I swear. So it took me a while to understand why Ellie got upset too. And I think this is more so a result of Dina's pregnancy and Ellie's own insecurity in protecting Ellie. So if you listen to the making of the episode afterwards, they kind of talk about how Jesse was in this moment a better protector for Dina than Ellie was. And with Ellie taking on a paternal role in the relationship in relation to Dina's pregnancy, she in some way feels like she needs to fill the father role, which in a lot of ways is Jesse. But if Jesse upstages her, it just doesn't look good. So I think this is her insecurities coming out as far as her masculinity and Jesse kind of like having the upper hand in this circumstance. So I think that's where that came from. In the apocalypse, where do you get your nose piercing done? The same way you do before the apocalypse, in the alleyway. Nora didn't deserve to die. The only mission should be Abby. That's it. Get Abby and go home. Ellie is going after innocent people now. No. There's nothing innocent about Nora. Nora, you got to remember, Nora, when Ellie tried to save Joel, first thing that happened was, what's his name, like punched her in the stomach or kicked her in the stomach. And then Nora held her down. Now, they could have taken her into another room. They could have tied her up. Heck, they could have just turned her head the other way if there was some real sympathy there. But I think they understood that there's a strong relationship there between Ellie and Joel. And Nora, in some sense, made her watch. She made her watch. She held her down right there and made her watch. You are complicit. Y'all all in the room. And not only y'all all in the room, you're preventing me from stopping it. You're guilty too. You're not innocent. Everybody in the room is on my list. Everybody. Nah, man. She got to go. 10 Toes Dina would agree. Who else we got? John Wick. Yeah. Everybody who hurt my dog got to go. Straight up. Not in a lot of ways. Very Jesse. Jesse is the father. So Jesse just doesn't know he's the father yet. So these aren't paternal instincts that are kicking up for him yet. Once he finds out, I think those instincts will kick in. However, he's just more so happy that he was able to save his friends and his friend and ex-girlfriend. Deep down, I think Ellie already knew what Joel did for her. So that one I want to find out as well. Did Ellie know? Because it could be the case, especially because of the way that the creators are talking about it and the way they just set it up with Dina in this episode, where they gave Ellie a path of validation by having Dina say her story about her first Merc and how she agreed with the way Ellie was approaching it. No matter what, I would do it too. I don't even care if we started it. I would do it too. And that's how Ellie feels, and that's how Ellie Dina feels. But let me know what y'all think y'all would have done. Would y'all have gone after Nora in that circumstance? Because in that moment when Ellie got away from the Seraphites, she could have circled back to try to meet up with Dina and Jesse at the theater. But instead, she decided to move forward and head to the hospital where she knew Nora was. She had a choice. So I'm curious what you think you would have done in that circumstance, who you think was right in that moment. And what do you think Ellie knew? What are you saying, Fernando? If it's true that Ellie knew that Joel drew first blood, then she didn't have a just cause anymore. She's no better than anyone else. Exactly. And that's what makes the story so good, because we're learning. Because you got to remember, sometimes I think we forget, like, we romanticize Joel, right? Because Joel was the hero and the antagonist, and he was saving little girls in our wolf and cub story. Joel was a terrible person. There were people looking for Joel before Ellie even met Joel. Whenever he would go into new areas, he would wonder which group of people that is that's after him, because there were several. And let's not forget, Joel tortured someone in season 1 in order to find Ellie's location when she got kidnapped. Remember when Ellie was being held by that dude in the cage and he had to find Ellie and he was torturing people to get her back? Joel's got some blood on his hands. He's not a good person. He didn't. So, yeah, we love Joel. We do. Neither of them were good people. They were all bad people. Out of everyone, I would say the most innocent person here potentially was Abby's father. If he's a medical doctor, if he's a scientist, if he's somebody who's altruistic, we don't know. However, the most innocent seeming person